fellow people of Ghanaian heritage and people of who may visit Ghana. But it also really concerns me what it's going to do to Ghana's international standing within the world. Now, quite frankly, you've heard other views, but it's my view, and not just my view, that the bill really does empower the abuse and the infringement of both the constitutional rights and the human rights of other Ghanaians. And whilst direct references have been made to the Constitution by the Honourable Sam George, he will be aware, as others will be, that Ghana is a significant player on the international scene in regards to human rights. It's also a signatory to major international human rights instruments, and these include the rights of LGBTQ people. So regardless of whatever else is said, these are things that successive Ghanaian governments have signed, and I'm sure nobody would want to imply that Ghanaian governments sign things and do not hold true to them, or that they would be happy to conflict with any international agreements that they have made. And some of the language that I've heard today is not the Ghana that I know. It's not the Ghana that I boast about, and it's not the Ghana that people right across the world want to visit. Ghana, as far as I know, has always had a culture of inclusivity and diversity and acceptance where people come and feel free. Now, I've heard many arguments about Western or international interference, and I would put this to you all. We are here at a Ghana Union debate. The Ghana Union, it may be people of Ghanaian heritage, but it is a diaspora organization. We are resident here in the UK. We are subject to other laws, and we accept this, and we understand and accept that we are members of an international community, as do legislators in Ghana and businesses and every such thing. They understand that we are part of an international community, and the idea that we can operate outside of this international community solely is quite frankly unbelievable. And the key moral arguments, I think Bissy laid out quite clearly, is that there are people around the world who are facing violence and inequality, torture, and even execution, just because of who they love, who they choose to have sexual relations with, how they look, as this happens to us in the UK, Black people in the UK, or who they are. And both sexual orientation and gender identity are key aspects of this, and they should never lead to the discrimination of anybody. Now, we have talked quite a bit, and we've heard quite a bit about Ghanaian culture and family values, and I personally don't recognise discrimination in any of those values. Quite frankly, the way that Ghana is looked at across the world, others do not necessarily recognise discrimination in any of those values. No one claims that Ghana and Ghanaians are perfect, but that's not what people see when they look at Ghana. And this bill, quite frankly, rather than claiming to protect family values, it is calling from the destruction of family relationships. What it's saying is calling on LGBT people, the parents and the family members of LGBT people, to rise up against them, inciting people to even hate their own children because of their sexual preferences. And I don't see how that is supportive of family values, supportive of that acceptance you're meant to have in a family unit. And I think we need to understand just how much, as a diaspora, this type of bill impacts us. Now, just as many as you may have, I began watching the hearings, and I've seen many different academics rise up and speak against the bill and do it quite clearly. And I was really, really concerned to hear Honourable Sam George's reflection on about it being about public health and public interest. Perhaps the most problematic of this is the references to HIV. Now, there's been a lot of work done over the years to remove the stigma that there is around HIV. And the argument, to continue pushing the argument that HIV is spread most widely by homosexual sex is not helpful to the tackling of HIV. In fact, instances where HIV is spread has got a lot to do with ignorance. It's a lot to do with ignorance and incorrect sexual health. And that's pure and simple. And this type of ignorance actually is the reason for the prevalence of HIV, because you have people believing that they're only going to catch it if they're having a homosexual relationship. That makes absolutely no sense. There are many, many instances in Ghana and across Africa, across other countries in the world, where HIV is spread in heterosexual relationships. And there are people who claim that ignorance and you know, continue to have unprotected sex, and this is how it's spreading, and it's killing people. And so that is a lack, I think, as far as I'm concerned, of clear education when it comes to sexual education. And people need to be very, very careful when they throw out these words in order to create stigma amongst people, but also when they use it in a sphere such as this, because it creates issues where people are not well informed and not well educated and continue to spread this particular virus. And I have to ask, is what people do in the privacy of their own rooms in a consensual manner really the major concerns facing Ghana today? You know, it had been touched on before. There are other issues. There are issues of healthcare. There are issues of education. There are issues of economic standing. There are issues of so many different issues. And I have to ask, whilst people may have their individual preferences and prejudices and why they may not want to see this or may not want to talk about it, in terms of how it impacts Ghanaians, is this really the most important thing? I think about how much legislative time this bill is taken up and it will be taking up over the course of the next few months. And with all of the other issues there are, not just affecting Ghana, many issues post-pandemic affecting so many different countries, is a bill like this really the best use of your legislators' time? Now, in the year of return and everything since, you know, we heard the president of Ghana call out to people from the diaspora, from the African diaspora all across the world, and say that Ghana is open. And we saw that calling Ghana open and all of the things that were done to make Ghana open and a welcome place for people to be able to come and travel and revisit Africa in that way was of a major boost to the Ghana economy to the tune of billions, quite literally billions. Why would we want to shut that down? Why would we want to expose Ghana to this kind of international scrutiny that would actually prevent people from coming into the country? Now, I don't understand why the state would want to regulate issues of sex between consenting adults. And I'm thinking about it, the way the law is passed, it's not just impacting Ghanaians, as I said, it's impacting people that visit the country. It's impacting people that visit the country. Again, they're not coming to do anything to anybody, quite realistically. You know, the state is there to protect children, to protect people who are weak, to protect people who are vulnerable. So if there was an issue where it wasn't consensual, absolutely, I think the state should take action. But when it is, what interest does the state have in doing this? And how does this benefit Ghanaians overall? Like, I simply cannot see the benefits, but I can see a lot of the negatives, and I'll go through some of them now, particularly financially. And I can tell you that this bill in itself has repercussions on the interim trade agreement that you have with the UK following Brexit. We won't be the only country that does this in terms of, or has these kind of clauses within our trade agreements. And that's something that I do not believe that Ghana can afford. But whilst I mentioned Brexit, I would say that the poll that has been taken and that has decided to drive these figures that you've put out about what Ghanaians think about the issue is not too far off what happened with Brexit. The Brexit vote was a referendum vote. We don't actually run the country by referendum. If the government had wanted to reject the referendum, they would have done so, but they didn't, because they thought it was a popular position. And as you see, and as you quite rightfully mentioned, this so-called popular position has not done well for our country. Now, as Ghana is recovering from the economic damage caused by the pandemic, like everybody is all across the world, this type of legislation is really going to put unnecessary pressure on finances, the stability of the exchange rate and the growth of development, as well as threats to broader market access. And I know it could quite easily lower the amount of people that are willing to participate in the finance of Ghana and invest in Ghana. Fewer multinationals choosing to invest in Ghana. Is that something that we would be willing to risk simply because the law conflicts with their corporate or corporate culture or anything such as that? Again, how does this bill benefit Ghana? How does it benefit Ghanaians? Now, it can even go as far as to affect how aid is flowing into the country. And I think that's really problematic, given the situation that we know that some people in the country find themselves in. Now, if you continue to marginalize any groups and alienize stakeholders, you create this really dangerous situation. And again, I just cannot understand why we'd want to put ourselves in that situation. But people seem so willing to do it. I even heard something which, quite frankly, really embarrassed me. I heard that there was a member of parliament in Ghana who threatened to beat the Australian, who said they would beat the Australian High Commissioner. Now, as a Black person living in the UK, as somebody of Ghanaian heritage, when you hear a Ghanaian saying something like that, it would make you feel quite embarrassed. I don't care what it is that the Australian